Welcome to CreateCon. I am so excited you guys are all here. I'm excited to be here. Tonight is all about celebrating the creative process. I'm really excited actually because we have someone here that is a big-time innovator in the gaming industry with us today. So Sally Slade is in immersive gaming development. So she started out doing a lot of visual effects stuff in the visual effects industry. She worked on like Batman versus Superman, Divergent, Godzilla, and a lot of other stuff. These days, she's focused more on VR development. I think Sally is ready. She's getting everything set up. So I'm really excited to bring to the stage my girl, Sally Slade.
All right. Good evening. My name is Sally Slade, and I am addressing you. Oh, thank you. I'm addressing you tonight from an intersection of art and technology you know as the games industry. Now, gaming has become a bit of an umbrella term as we learn to embrace our new platforms of virtual, augmented, or mixed reality, and I'm really excited about it. I love these new frontiers for the challenges they present and the opportunities they offer for rich self-expression, entertainment, and socializing. I first fell in love with this medium after trying Google's Tilt Brush. Have you guys tried that? Okay, yeah. As a hobbyist illustrator, this software completely shattered my mind with its possibilities and grace. I quit my job, said goodbye to my friends, packed my stuff, and came back to LA to accommodate my newfound obsession. So, VR. It is my hope that many of you are curious about the games industry and its relationship to virtual reality. Who here has tried VR? Yes, my people. Has anyone tried AR? Okay, great. I have to say, HoloLens or Magic Leap, these full HMD ARs, anybody? Okay, well, if you get the chance, give it a shot, it'll blow your mind. So allow me to satisfy any remaining curiosity you may have about this by explaining a little bit about what it looks like from the inside. A day in the life. Like many of you, I start my day by arriving precisely 10 minutes before my first meeting. I launch an army of applications to get me through the day. Unity, Visual Studio, Photoshop, Maya, Spotify, Chrome, SourceTree, RocketChat, Beyond Compare, CC Tray, Task Manager. You get the idea. My processor is a busy lady. I'm very grateful to have a beast of a machine at work. But executing this on my personal machine would have been painful. Running all of these processes in parallel is enough of a burden, but interacting with things like holographic capture, undecimated geometry, 8K textures, simulations, hardware emulators, it would be too much for that old machine to take. I would be sunk. I'd be banished to low polygon prototypes, 1K textures, forced to operate under assumptions that if I deployed to the machine, it would just work. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a great machine when I bought it 4 years ago for its sole purpose of drawing Sailor Moon fan art. But thanks to the magic of Intel Optane, I am able to create immersive content from anywhere, including this stage. In fact, I am so confident that tonight we're going to try something absolutely nuts. We are going to build 2 types of game environments in 20 minutes, and hopefully inspire you to give it a shot at home once you're through here. So our first style of game will be a side-scroller, something straight out of the 90s. And our second gaming style will be virtual reality, something straight out of tomorrow. In other words, not that you would turn a classic side-scroller game into a photoreal VR experience, but you could. Okay, back to life on the inside. I begin my workday by checking my assigned tasks in Jira. Anything I can't delegate, reject, or postpone, I begin immediately. An example task might be something like, every time I touch an object in VR, I want it to light up, and then make it play a note from the theme song. And if I touch it like 5 times, play the entire theme song. I did implement this task, and it did not become irritating. In fact, the song really grew on me. Executing a task like this would involve many things. First, maybe modeling something cool in Maya, which is a content creation software for creating 3D models, animating them, and so on. We would then create a sweet texture for that in Photoshop. And I'm assuming you're all familiar with Photoshop. And then we would assemble the object in Unity, which is a game engine. Unity is where all the magic happens, at least for me. This is where we sort of assemble the game, make it move in ways we care about using programming languages and that sort of thing. Speaking of which, we need Visual Studio so we can program. Visual Studio is my editor of choice for writing code. As an aside, the reason these apps are launching so quickly is because I've been working with this Intel Optane memory PC for a few weeks now, and it's learned my behaviors. Normally, I'd have time to grab a cup of coffee or something. Not anymore. Thanks, Intel. Once a task like this is complete, you complete another task, and then another, until the game is done. And if you're lucky, you keep creating games after that again and again and again. So, I wasn't always the brilliant, pioneering AR/VR experience maven standing before you today. In fact, I led a whole other life as a visual effects technical director. I worked on feature films for 2 different award-winning studios, twice supporting over 300 artists, as we made the most shockingly epic hold-on-to-your-butts visual effects on the planet. So how did I get out of VFX and into games? Is all of that, Python scripting, color space wrangling, whiskey drinking, and donut eating really applicable? It wasn't as hard as you might think. It turns out game engines like Unity are incredibly accessible. Just going to pull up Unity here. So, things like Unity are well documented, free to download, and there's an amazing community of artists who are there to support you anytime you get stuck. At the risk of sounding like an autodidactophile, this is all stuff you can learn at home, and I'm going to prove it to you. So, audience, I would like to hear a little bit from you. Please tell me the most iconic video games you can think of. All right. Whoa, whoa. Okay, I've heard a lot of things I like, and most importantly, I've heard several side-scrollers. I heard Super Mario Brothers and then Sonic, sorry, Sonic. So, side-scrolling games. If you're not familiar with the term, it means a game where the action is taking place from the side. So all you have to do, really, is go to the right, and you eventually achieve the goal. So I feel like these games can be pretty beautiful, and I think what makes them beautiful is their parallax scrolling. Is anyone familiar with this term parallax scrolling? Oh, OK, we're going to learn stuff tonight, guys. So this is based on a traditional animation technique which leverages multiplane cameras. See here, multiple planes. So multiplane camera was first invented in 1926 by the German filmmaker Charlotte Reiniger for her feature film Die Abenteuer des Prinzen Ahmed, although you may be more familiar with the version of this camera created about a decade later by Walt Disney for their film Snow White. Now, using this technique, you split the background into several layers. Here you can see I've got 4 layers going. We've got like a painted backdrop, and then a background, a midground, and a foreground. So as these move across the screen at different speeds, we create this illusion of parallax, or motion, and depth. It's pretty clever, and we're going to leverage it right now to build our first gaming environment. OK, here we go, Photoshop. I'm going to open my parallax scrolling template. So for this game, I have a friend who's hiking a trail right now from Mexico to Canada. So I'm really into hiking trails. So I would like it to take place on a trail. So who can tell me some things that I would like to see in this, that you would like to see in this game, that you might see on a hiking trail? Audience, give me some nouns. Trees. OK, I'm hearing trees. Wow, you guys are crushing it. That's enough. OK, so let's get started. I think someone maybe said the sky, because I'm going to start with the sky. So we're going to do a nice gradient from sky blue to maybe like a muddy, because that trail looked pretty rough, swamp green here. And this device, by the way, is a Cintiq. I'm just using it as an input device. Don't get scared that I'm drawing on my monitor. No big deal. Okay, we've got a nice sky here. I did hear clouds. Cumulus? I'm just gonna go with cumulus. Okay. So just gonna fluffy clouds. This is the lasso tool. Very handy for these sorts of, displays of strength. Gonna try to make them not too stormy. There's enough darkness in the world. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Those look approachable. Okay, I did hear someone say trees. I think the most appropriate place for that would be probably the mid-ground, somewhere between what you'd see far off in the horizon or what you'd see right up close if we were to kind of film this on camera. So I will put them here. Okay, here we go. Sorry guys, but I'm gonna make dead trees because they're really easy to draw. And I also feel like their silhouette is fairly dramatic, and I think that plays well to our message of hiking. So, la-di-da. Sorry. Okay, so we're just gonna give these a nice sort of brown here. Now, this may not look like much right now. I mean, I will be the first to admit it looks very much like a doodle. But I think you'll find that once we throw it into the game engine and it's in motion, it's pretty breathtaking. Okay, I'm just going to quickly duplicate this layer to save myself some work. Great, these look like trees to me. What about you guys? Yeah, pretty much? The illustrator's coming later, okay? We're gonna just give this a quick outline, to set it apart. Oh, that was nice. I like that dark brown. Yeah, okay. Put that on the outside. Whoa, okay. Something like this. Are you convinced? Thank you. Now, for the background, what are some things you'd imagine you'd see along the horizon? Yes. Oh, I like the birds idea. So we're going to do some mountains and some birds. Let me just... merge this down here. It's important to name your layers. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Okay, here we are with the mountains. I want these to kind of occlude the clouds. You'll see the magic once it's animated, I promise. Okay, and we'll give them like a, ooh, how about gray? Okay, here we go. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of a tiling texture, but it's an important thing we do to make sure that the texture lines up. So I just shifted them by 50 pixels. It was fast. And here we go. So I'll just put some highlights on these. Now that I know it will tile nicely across the screen. Gorgeous. I'm going to throw a little more on our tree here. No, I'm not. What else might we see? Grass. Oh, I heard tumbleweed. That's adorable. Mushroom. Here we go with the grass. Yes. Now I'm going to make this nice and tall so that it can kind of occlude our player. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Gorgeous. All right. I think we are time to, oh wait, let me just, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. Gotta make sure it's seamless. Okay. It's time to bring it back into the game engine. So I'm going to export these layers as files. Oh, perfect. We're already in our project. Gonna throw it in here into this painting directory. Okay. Painting. Here we go. All right, so what this is doing now is it's merging all of these files onto its own layer and then saving them out as a PNG to disk. That was fast. I didn't even have time to explain it to you, thanks to the glory of Intel Optane memory. All right, here we go back to the game engine. Boom. See, it just loaded right in because I overwrote the files that were there before. So, magic. So what I'm going to do now is hit play. And nothing's going to happen because we haven't done any programming yet. Who's ready to learn how to code? Yes. OK. What we're going to do is animate these backdrops so that they move, giving us that sweet, sweet parallax effect. Now, let's create a C# script. That is the language we'll be using this evening, aside from English. All right, here I am creating a C# script. I'm going to call it move background. OK, so once this is created here, I'm going to, all right, let's open this in Visual Studio. Now, I've done this like 1,000 times, so Optane is just on it. Opening programs is no big deal for this PC. If I were at work right now, I'd just kind of kick back and wait. But here, nah, we ready to go. Yeah. Well, you already get for free some programming, just by launching the thing. I'm going to try to sell you on how easy it is to code, guys, because I want everyone to be an engineer. So we'll get rid of that. We don't need it. We'll get rid of these. We don't need them. The only thing we'll be using is Unity Engine. So the first thing I'm going to do is declare some numbers we can work with. Public float. OK, public means we can access it from Unity inside the game engine. Float is another kind of way you can say decimal as opposed to integer. We want like a more precise number. So we're going to call this one distance per frame equals 0. Now, what I'm saying here is that these textures, as you can see, I've got the trees selected right now. Remember, those are trees. And we've got our renderer component here with a material on it. Stay with me now. So this material is in our renderer. And if we select it down here, it's that PNG we just saved out from Photoshop. And if we were to offset this, see how the trees move? Imagine if we offset it once every frame, like how it would just animate super smoothly. So that's what we're going to be achieving right now in C#. So the distance per frame is how much offset we want to move those trees per frame. I'm setting it to 0 here because we're going to go in using Unity and set it individually for each little layer there, the trees, the sky. OK, next one, private float. Private because this time we don't want to see it in Unity. We just want to see it here in the text editor. We don't want Unity to mess with it. We'll call this total distance. And right now, it's also 0. OK. Look, they even bothered to tell us that it's called once per frame. So already we know what we're doing. So here, we're going to do a little calculation. We're going to calculate the total distance. We want to know where that texture is going. So we're going to say it equals what it was the previous frame, right now, 0, plus the distance per frame. You'll notice that it's auto-completing. Super handy. Distance per frame times, I'm being super verbose here, by the way, times 1, because this is how many frames we're dealing with. OK, next, we'll get component renderer. Stay with me, guys. The renderer component is that thing we were just clicking on here in the Unity engine. This guy is what we're grabbing with the code. Like, the code and the game engine just go hand in hand. It's beautiful. So we've got the renderer. We're going to grab the material, which is the thing that's holding our PNG that we just exported from Photoshop. Now we're going to set texture offset so we can animate that sucker. Look at this autocomplete. May I stop to show you the beauty here? It's even telling me the name of the texture, which is main text. Glorious. And then we're going to move it to the right, because they're side-scrolling to the right, by a factor of our total distance. Not painful, right? OK. Now let's go in here and customize this stuff. So with the principles of parallax, the foreground is going to be moving a lot faster than the background. So we'll start with that, and we'll give it the speediest thing we can do. So we're going to add this component called move background, and we're going to give it a speed of 002. That's pretty fast in, in this world. Okay, now we're going to add the same component here to the midground, and we're going to move that one a little bit slower, 0015. Almost done. Going to move the background here, even slower. And then one more to go, guys. Did I type that right? I did. I did. Okay, last one. Okay, let's move this guy 0. Really slow. All right. Now, when we hit play, you'll see something truly magical. Parallax. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Now, if you find me after class, I'll teach you how to do cool things like move the hero around, make her jump. Okay. Now, I'm glad we've pushed your minds to the limit with this lesson, but now it's time to push this PC to the limit with some really cool VR environment building. What I'm looking at here is a beautiful empty scene, which we will populate with photoreal assets that are 8K, which means 8,000 pixels by 8,000 pixels. This would bring my old PC to its knees, man. This is wild stuff. Let us begin. So I'm going to start by bringing in some ground. Okay, so this is our ground. It's pretty muddy because I don't know about you guys, but I've been hiking and it's miserable, so I'm just going to reflect that here with this mud. I'm also going to add some rock like walls so that once you're in the virtual environment, you feel secure because you've got, a boundary between you and the unknown. Now, looking at this, I'm a little bit dissatisfied actually with this mud. It's like a little too matte. It's not shiny enough for my taste. So what I'm going to do is something really nuts. We're going to mix this live. So this is an application that is used to mix these like heavy-duty textures together. I've rarely had the privilege to use this app because my personal computer couldn't support it. But this one can. So I'm going to pull in this mud. And what it's doing now is it's reading in all these layers that bring up the mud. So we've got like a reflection pass, like a bump map, all kinds of stuff. This is really, I'm blown away. Okay, check it out. This mud is already looking cool, but I want to show you, look how cool this is. I can just make it really, terribly gross. I would not even let my dog hike through that. Maybe something a little more modest. Like this. Okay, what I'm going to do now is export this texture that we just mixed on the fly incredibly to this mud directory here. Perfect. And then we're going to just export 4 maps. So what it's doing now is it's taking these gigantic textures and compressing them down to files that Unity can read. Oh, it's already done. I'm just going to stop explaining. It's done. So we're going to open Unity now. It's caching those files back, and it's going to allow us to create a new material that we can put on our old lame mud with this new shiny mud. Let's do it. Oh, I minimized it in my excitement. Okay. I believe I put it here. Yes, mud, perfect. We're going to do create new material. Going to call it new mud. And then we're going to populate this bad boy. Going to drag the albedo pass, which is a fancy word for color. Normals, so the light knows which way to bounce. Fix them automatically. Then we're going to pull in this roughness pass. And what are we missing? Displacement pass. Cool. Let's see how this is looking. Oh yeah, shiny mud. Look at it reflect those clouds, right? Okay, cool stuff. Okay, now moving on. Let's keep populating this little world we're gonna hike through. I want piles of rocks. There they are. And those broken trees I love. Here we go. Dead trees, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, look at this guy. He is far too saturated. I mean, I don't know if you see what I'm saying, but that guy is pink in a gray and blue world. So we will quickly rectify that. Let's see, we've got a log texture here, an albedo pass that is being very disagreeable, and we will load it into Photoshop and just rectify the situation. Okay, I'm just going to take this down several notches, put it in our nice blue-green palette. Okay, way better, right? Now, this should instantly just pop in. Gorgeous, right? Satisfying, right? Okay, so now let's see if we want to add anything else to this little world. We've got our, okay, tree foliage, yes, okay. And that gives us like these sort of gorgeous little leaves. These are all photos that were taken by human beings, by the way. They just went out into the woods and took these with high-end cameras, and now we get to toss them around in the game engine like they're like tiny little files, but they're huge. Okay, and vegetation. Look at all this stuff I just threw into the mud, guys. This is a lot of data. Okay, now this is the sort of, for me, this is like a big deal. We're gonna build the game, and I don't know if you know much about, game making, but building the game is the most tedious, long-taking process there is. So we're just gonna build that. So normally this is the point at work where we're all just like, yes, it's time to go to Starbucks or whatever. I personally took up origami to sort of kill this building time. So if anyone would like to learn how to fold the Blade Runner unicorn, I'm here for you after this show. But that's not all we do. I mean, that was not very popular. People didn't really have the paper on hand all the time. So what our lead engineer did is teach us all how to juggle. So now, I mean, there's always Tangerines and Crafty, and now a couple of us have like our own juggling ball setups at work. So I personally can do 3. There's like a modeling artist, he can do like 5, and we're all kind of like, damn it, Sam, like stop showing off. But it's a way to pass the time, a way that we don't really have to experience today because this progress bar is just blazing. Like I cannot contextualize this for you enough, how fast this is. Okay, it's done. I had another anecdote too. Okay. Now let's open this build, and what I'm going to show you is the VR environment we just made live on stage. So you'll see if I don my headset, I'm in the VRs looking around at my photoreal environment. Got my sky, it's nice, I'm really impressed, and I think we can all agree that what we've achieved here in 20 minutes live on stage was pretty remarkable. So thank you, Intel Optane Memory, for your excellent performance.